What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage coming to you live with Aaron Thomas from Austin, Texas. What's up, dude?
What's up, Dave? It's a pleasure, man. I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity right now. So this is awesome.
Well, I am just grateful that you have tuned into the Mortgage Coach platform community for some time. And it sounds like you've taken advantage of the Mortgage Coach total cost analysis and we've made a difference for you. So congrats on becoming a black belt.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much, man. Mortgage Coach has been a huge part of my career so far, and it's going to be that way for a long time to come, for sure. So
cool. Well, I love interviewing what I call next gen leaders in the mortgage space. You definitely qualify for that. You've gone from zero total cost analysis to how many TCAs have you done now as of today?
It looked like I'd done about 322 over about a 2-year span, a little less than 2 years, actually, about a year and, 3/4 or so.
And how long have you been a loan officer?
2 years, just a tad over 2 years. Closed my first loan in 2018 in the fall. So just a hair over 2 years.
Well, congratulations. And how many families do you think you will have served by the end of the year, which is only a couple weeks away?
Well, in 2020, it's going to be around 85 families, which is I never would have thought I'd be here. 2 years ago, I can promise you that. I had a pretty unconventional start in the business. But, all in all, over the last few years, probably, anywhere from about 125 to 140, something like that.
Well, congratulations, man. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Production. I mean, there are loan officers that have been doing this for decades that aren't knocking on the doorstep of 100 loans. So there's still, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of loan officers that aren't doing that kind of volume. So you're not quite in that top 1%, but I can just tell by how fast you're getting started and how you're doing it, you're going to be among the most elite loan officers in the country in the next couple of years.
I appreciate that. That's the goal. I'm chasing some of these guys that you're interviewing all the time. So
yeah, well,
they set the bar pretty high. That's for sure.
They do. I'm looking for the best loan officers in America to interview who are using Mortgage Coach, and they are. They're the most successful, most elite, modern mortgage professionals in America. So yeah, I do think that's cool to be able to learn from them. Well, I'm excited about this interview for a few reasons. One, I love interviewing next gen loan officers, but I hear that the way you learn the mortgage business, you started with our YouTube channel and our Facebook group. It's been a big part of your story. So let's just start with your story. Like you said, it was unconventional. What does that mean?
Man, where do I begin? So, a little over 2 years ago, like I said, to try to keep a long story short on this part, but I got reached out to by a family member of mine who lived overseas. He was in oil and gas. I, at the time, was, kind of in an entry-level role in another industry. And he was like, "Hey, Aaron, I want to start a mortgage company, and I want you to help me run it. And we want to do it in Austin." And I was like, "What's a mortgage company? I don't even know what that means. What does that look like?" And, I was just kind of fresh out of college and just kind of figuring life out. And so anyways, did some research, left my job, and we started a brokerage. And, pretty quickly, we had some pretty high hopes, and it wasn't very long before we realized how tough this business is. And kind of got punched in the face a little bit, that's for sure. And anyway, so I was here. My brother-in-law was doing the business with me. Our boss was in South Korea doing oil and gas and, just kind of helping manage us as we got going. And, it wasn't long before it was just me here in Austin. And, I was kind of like, where do I go? I don't know where this is headed. And it wasn't looking great. And so anyways, I went to the mortgage mastermind out in Vegas. And, again, was just kind of learning and hearing from folks and just trying to soak in as much as I could. And, heard a guy, speaking, and sharing his story and sharing how he got to where he was. And it was just extremely relatable. And, you know, I loved his kind of heart for serving people. And I think that's been a big part of who I am as a person, and kind of leading me into this is just wanting to serve people at a really high level. So anyways, he was talking, and I couldn't help it. I was like, man, this one presentation is changing the entire scope of what I'm doing and how I want to do it. And, you know, turns out that was Tim Brahim. And, you know, I didn't know who Tim Brahim was at the time. And so, you know, as soon as I got home from Vegas, you know, it was all systems go. Tim Brahim, who is this guy? What's he about? Do we have more stuff I can listen to? And it didn't take long, you know, to do some searches and stumbled upon the Mortgage Coach community and the YouTube channel. And I watched every Tim Brahim video I could possibly find. And, you know, obviously in his conversations, he talked a lot about Mortgage Coach and the value of the total cost analysis, and, you know, and what that brings to clients and what that brings to a person's business. And so, you know, did some research, kind of dove into that. And before you know it, I was like, all right, you know, at the time, $90 a month was kind of like, dang, I don't know, this is a, you know, tough pill to swallow here. Right. And, so I went for it, and, man, best decision I've ever made, Dave, and what you do and what you created has just been pivotal for me. And, ever since then, every single client gets, you know, an analysis in one form or the other. Yeah, I remember the first one I made, I was in a hotel room at this conference, and, man, it created a zest for me in what I was doing. And I felt immediately more confident in what I was doing. I felt like a professional in the way I was presenting to people. And, you know, I can attest so much of that to Mortgage Coach. So that's kind of, long story short, a lot of moving parts within that for sure. You know, and earlier this year, I ended up making a switch in companies, kind of transitioned away from where I was. You know, just, you know, there were some things that needed to change. And so linked up with Aaron Page, who you interviewed, you know, last week. And, you know, we made that company switch in March, leading into, you know, just the craziness this year's been. So a lot of TCAs have been created this year, that's for sure.
Well, I want to center this conversation around next generation loan officers. I think if you're a top producer and you're closing 300 loans a year, you're going to learn something from this guy. I think if you're brand new in the business, I mean, you might want to watch this multiple times. This guy's going to inspire you. And I don't care where you're at. You're just trying to like make that transition to go to the next level. I have a feeling, and not to put pressure on you, Aaron, but I have a feeling we can all learn and be inspired by you, because it's your energy, and you're that guy that was willing to jump in and do something that was crazy. Like, oh, I'm this kid out of college and I'm going to run a mortgage company. I think that's bold. And then you were that kid out of college that did it, that went to Vegas to, you know, learn from other people. And then you heard someone say something and you followed up, you went to Google, you watched it, you found Mortgage Coach, and you've studied it. So I just think that's a reminder to everybody. We're never too old to learn. And for all the new loan officers, training is everything. Like as I've interviewed the best loan officers in America, they all have something in common. They love to train. You know, when you look at the most successful mortgage companies, they're great at training. You look at Keller Williams, the number one real estate company in America. Gary Keller was really serious, is we're going to be the best training organization in America. So I'm excited to keep this going. Now, Aaron told me a pretty cool story, and Aaron, thank you for introducing the two of us. Aaron Page, thank you for introducing me to Aaron Thomas. Tim Brahim, big shout out to you, brother. You know, if you watch this, Tim, I think he'll be really happy knowing that he impacted you and he created this kind of value for you. So tell me I'm going to see if you tell me the same story, but Aaron Page told me how you guys met. Tell me the story of how you guys met.
Yeah. So little over, I guess it was about a year and some change ago. And Dave, I know you're a huge coffee guy, at least by everything that I see. So anyways, I was in a coffee shop. I'm kind of a nomad. I work from different places, and, you know, I end up at a lot of coffee shops, big coffee drinker. And so anyway, sitting in a coffee shop one day working on this bar, and this guy shows up next to me, and dressed to the nines, meeting with somebody. And I overhear the conversation, talking about mortgages and, real estate and all that. And I was like, this dude's for sure in the mortgage business. And, I was just kind of doing some digging. And so, probably about, a week or two later, let's say, I showed back up, same coffee shop, same dude sitting across the way, had his, mortgage bag and everything. So I just walked right up to him. I was like, hey man, are you in the mortgage business? And he was like, yeah. I was like, hey, me too. And, I just wanted to introduce myself. And so we got to chit chatting and, kind of ran into each other a few more times over the course of, the summer, whenever that was. And there was one point where he was just kind of like, hey, would you, ever be interested in kind of learning what we do and how we do things with our company? Because again, at the time I was a part of a brokerage. So, he was with, mortgage bank. And so different type of structure for sure. And so conversation got started, and probably about 6 months later is when I jumped in with his team. And Aaron's awesome. He's a great leader, a great mentor, a great friend. And, so it was a pretty crazy story. I'm a man of faith. So I think it was definitely a divine, meeting. And I think that it was definitely, perfect timing for sure. So.
That's cool. I think what Aaron told me, I think he was working on a TCA, or you were working on a TCA. Anyways, I am going to want to know, usually I ask people at this point, why do you use Mortgage Coach? I'm not going to ask you that because I think it's kind of clear already, but what are some of the best, aside from Tim Brahim? Sounds like you've watched every Tim Brahim interview, but what are some of the other mentors in Mortgage Coach, people that I've interviewed that have really made a difference for you? What have been some of your favorite videos?
Yeah. Well, when I grow up, Dave, I want to be Jeremy Forcier. I think Jeremy Forcier is the bomb. I think everybody does. Again, I think he's very personal, and I think that it's easy to connect with him. And so I listen to a ton of Jeremy Forcier, a ton of Dan Keller, Josh Metal. Again, Josh is amazing. I actually, about a year ago, I actually reached out to Josh. I had some things that I was looking for some advice on, and started picking his brain, and he was so kind to take the time to jump on the phone with me. And so since then, he and I have had a few conversations just picking his brain. I actually called him one time about setting up a TCA for a cash out refinance and comparing some debt payoff stuff. And so, those three guys are, I listen to them regularly, and also being a part of the core. Obviously Jeremy and Dan, are part of the core. And so a lot of the things that I'm looking to do, they're already doing, and they've had success doing. And so those guys are the Mount Rushmore. Throw Dave Savage in there and Tim Brahim, and you got it. So
I love that. I love that. Well, dude, it is an honor to have been part of your story, and I can't wait to keep these interviews going. I can't wait till I interview you when you get to Red Belt Grandmaster and you've done 1,000 total cost analysis.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how are you using Mortgage Coach in today's market? Like what are the moves that you're making? How does it integrate into your sales process?
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, every client's getting one. And so this year, a lot more refinances than expected. So it's been pivotal in, making those comparisons, as well as, Austin being the market that it is, a ton of home buyers that I'm working with. And so what I'm doing with it, Dave, is I've kind of been transitioning a little bit in the way that I'm using it. In the past, it was much more, I was sending that with a video and then, circling back with folks on a conversation to see if they reviewed, answered questions, things like that. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing that, but then I'm also scheduling a time to actually sit down with them live and spend time reviewing that together. Sometimes I'll make changes if they want to see those changes in the analysis. But as soon as we get a pre-approval done or get a client that's interested in a refinance, that's when I'm pulling the trigger on creating the analysis and spending the time to put those options together. And then like Sean Herrero says, using it as a funnel of information from there. So especially with my home buyers, as they're shopping for homes, I like to do, an apples to apples comparison of properties and throw those into the analysis and take a good look there. So it's, it's something that I use a lot at the beginning, again, once we're pre-approved or once I have a client that's interested in the refinance. And then on the purchases, it's kind of a continuous update until we get under contract, reaffirm all the details, and then kind of select the structure we want to go with from there. So that's kind of how I use it.
Well, let's do this. I want to close out with just, if you were giving advice to new loan officers that were in their first year in the business, what do you think are the training regiments to become a black belt at mortgage advice, how to be a modern mortgage professional? So we'll close out with that, but let's go into your live experience. And I think when you said live, you're referring to the feature we have called Mortgage Coach Live, right? You're not in person, you're giving them a link and then you're having a live interactive conversation. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So I send them the link and then we'll, jump on a Zoom like this. We'll have the analysis pulled up, work through it. And then, we're making changes as we're discussing and kind of looking through those options together.
So let's do this. I want you to share your screen. So if you could click to share screen. Also, I would love for you to put the link to the TCA that you're going to do live on, put it in chat of Zoom so that I can then share that. We've got a dozen or so people watching. Well, it's going between a half a dozen and a dozen people in Mortgage Coach, because I want them to be able to follow along in the live experience.
Yeah.
By the way, man, we got like Bill Dallas gave us a like here. Bill is a legendary leader in the mortgage industry. So what's up, Bill Dallas, if you're still watching us here. Britt Figueroa, I don't know if he's a friend of yours, but he said good job. So either he's just watching you and getting to know you, or he's already a buddy. Greg Anderson, who is a $100 million producer. He's a red belt grandmaster at Mortgage Coach, like ×3. I think he's a core brother. Do you know Greg Anderson in the core?
I've heard the name. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So not to put pressure on you, but you got some pretty big leaders watching this call right now. And by the time we're done, I'm sure you're going to impact hundreds, if not thousands. Okay. There's your link. So guys, what I'm going to do right now, if you're watching this live, I'm going to put this link in chat so you can follow along as a consumer would follow along. If you're, you know what? I like the way you did your video too. I think there's a takeaway that a lot of people don't know what you did and how you did it that I want to talk about. So hang on. Is this a refi or a,
this is a refi.
Aaron's refi. Hang on. All right. So guys, if you are in Facebook right now, click on the link that I just put in chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put a link to the chat just so you can see it, because the video that Aaron did, the way he did it from his mobile phone. He did it. You were holding the phone like this, right? When you did it?
Yeah. I kind of, depending on where I'm at, I'll stack, the phone onto my computer. Or if I'm in my office, set it up, and I
you
always
probably got a tripod
over the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually don't have a tripod. I need one though.
Okay. Well, you're young. You can still hold that phone like this, but us older folks, man, I like the tripod. But to take away, guys,
the GoPro.
You do need the GoPro. I just got one because Sean got one, so I did what Sean did.
I know.
But here's the deal, guys. The benefit of the way he held the phone is that, one, it's a better camera and a better mic than what's on your computer. And two, by doing it this way, it's more mobile optimized. So you just show up clear, you sound better, and there's more of you. So little takeaway for everybody on the Mortgage Coach. All right, dude. So let's check out. You're showing your screen. So first of all, when you forward this link to the family, do you kind of wait till you're on the phone with them and then give them the link, or do you get it to them before that?
I like to get it to them before that, mainly because I want them to have the chance to check it out and maybe develop some questions that they can ask me. Cause I think sometimes, when you're throwing this much information at somebody, it can be hard for them to actually develop the questions that they want to ask. And so, then you got to come back and, of course they may have questions that they come back with after they take the time. So I usually try to get it to them beforehand. That way they can check it out. And then when we're on the call, I do a high level overview of it and then, answer questions that they've kind of put together.
So I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. I do want to say I've asked that question of a lot of folks, and there's a lot of loan officers. It's like, hey, if I'm going to do live, I want to get them the link at the beginning so I can walk them through it and they aren't confused. So you might want to test that. And I also think it's one of those tailored things.
Yeah.
Some borrowers, you might want to get it before. Some you might want to give them the link while they're on the phone with you. But good to know. Okay, so that's how you do it.
Yeah.
So walk us through this TCA. Tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah. So, like I said, client looking to refinance, sitting in a 30-year loan right now. And this is, I think, like I said, once I initially put together, I'll do some refining. And so they kind of were leaning towards the 30 years. So refine this out a little bit. So what I'm doing here, Dave, is I've got their current mortgage, of course, always super important for me to make sure that I've got these details in here. And I try to, obviously be as accurate as I can. I want them to be able to see how this is going to add up. So I've got their current mortgage. Of course, in the, payment breakdown, I've got all of those details of taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance. So stepping in, usually depending on the term we're looking at. So I've got a 30-year refi here and a few different structures in the way that we're doing that. So being at the end of the year, we've got taxes that are coming due. And so, I've got an option for them to not have to roll some of that in if they want to try to pay that out of pocket. So I've got the fees wrapped option here, so we're just wrapping all of that cost, including escrow, into the loan. We're taking a 2.875% interest, which we're cutting, a pretty big chunk, almost a point and a half there. Monthly payment, we're saving about $400 a month in this scenario, which is amazing, for cash flow purposes. That can be huge, to put that money elsewhere. Cash to close, we're looking at appraisal. I usually try to show kind of a lower, higher rate option, sort of a Jeremy Forcier strategy there. So I showed a lower rate option here with a little bit of a buy down in the point section here. So
time out. Time out there. I just want to insert everybody. I don't know if Jeremy was the first one to bring that into the mortgage coach community, but guys, this is a super strong move because if you're competing for a family and you're competing with online lenders or big banks, they're always going to quote low rates, high fees. And so giving them those options, you're just kind of like proactively getting ahead of things. So you got that from Jeremy, but I just want everybody to know it's, Jeremy, I don't think he does it every time, but if he thinks he's dealing with someone who's a rate shopper or someone that is dealing with a big bank or a online lender, this is a move. So good to know. Do you do this every time pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much. I want people to see their options, right? And we always get that rate question. What's your rate? Can we get a rate lower? And so I always show them, hey, we've got some movement here, depending on what you prefer more and what fits what you're looking to do is, how I want to look at that. And I want to present you all those options. So like in this case, if we go here to the closing cost tab and we've got points, at the higher rate, we were giving a pretty large credit, and the lower rate wasn't costing too much, especially with that possibly being financed in, depending on how they structured it. So in this case, we actually did end up going with the lower rate option for them, because they had a desire to have that, that savings portion, in the rate. So I try to do that, most of the time, especially on purchase deals, if I'm putting a pre-approval analysis together and we may not be buying for a month, I like to show high, low, mid, so that people know, how the market could fluctuate and understand what, their options are going to be there. So, so that's kind of the lower rate option. And in this case, like I said, I showed a paid taxes option, for these folks. One thing I wanted them to see is that a lot of what was going into this principal balance was their taxes, and so with escrow, an escrow being held at another servicer. Once this gets refinanced, that being paid back to them, I thought, hey, maybe you can float this money rather than finance it, over time, and help really optimize this refinance and make that much more sense in the long term. So, and then what I like to do, Dave, is once we kind of go through questions, of course, go through the payment breakdown, the closing costs, and I'll say a little side note here. One thing I do on a lot of my refinance analysis is I do an extra principal reduction payment into them. One thing I took away from Josh Metal was that, if we're wrapping back into a 30-year, maybe that's not always the best option if you're front loading interest and kind of restarting. And so I show folks, if you're saving $400 a month on your mortgage, hey, what if we put $200 of that savings back into the principal, and this is how quickly we can pay that off. So I always show them the freedom point, when I'm doing that. So just kind of a side note there. Obviously that's not on this one in particular, but I love that tool. I love being able to show people a different strategy that they don't, really think about, and how that can impact them longer term. So, I go through all that with them, and then we kind of step over here to the charts and look at the monthly payment differences, of course, look at the savings over, a 5-year period. Sometimes I'll pull this down to show a break even point, but we were kind of aiming for 5 years here, and then of course go down to the long term. So it's been super helpful. And my clients rave about the software and the way that these things are presented to them versus looking at a fee worksheet and just seeing a bunch of numbers and a payment difference. I have a huge heart for showing people how this is going to impact. And this is a long-term debt, right? This is a huge decision, and I don't ever want to take that lightly. And so I really try to do a good job of giving people, these longer term views of their debt. And of course, the total cost analysis, really, really makes that easy for me.
Well, I love what you do. I love that you called out. I'm going to show an example in a minute of how to do the prepay. What do you call the mortgage coach to the family? How do you describe it and frame it as you give it to them? Do you call it a total cost analysis, or do you call it something else?
Yeah, I actually call it a mortgage cost analysis.
Okay.
So just one word change, right? Keep it simple. Mortgage cost analysis. That's I don't know why. I had listened to a couple interviews with Dan Keller and Jeremy Forcier, just in the way that they changed it up, on the name. So that's kind of what I landed on, and that's kind of what I've run with. So. Well,
that works for me. But hey, before you stop sharing, show your screen one more time.
Yeah.
And I want you to go to
the
we go back and forth. Go to the login. We call it the advice engine, where you create the mortgage coach report. So go to the login screen. Okay.
Can you see this here?
Yeah. Click on settings
up
there in the upper right hand corner. Settings.
Okay.
Next to partner. So yeah, guys, you can see he's done 332 TCAs that have been viewed. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, they've been viewed 3,200 times. That means he's averaging about 10 people looking at the link. So, by the way, that's best of breed. I think our network average is about a 5 times share. So what that means to me is you're doing a really good job of positioning this and educating your client so that they're using it, and other decision makers that are involved in the process are looking at it. So 10-1 is great. 5-1 is good. If you're like 3-1, like if you created 100 TCAs and they've had 300 views, that's not good. 10-1 is great. I've seen 20-1, although usually that's someone who's not only doing a good job of sharing the link and framing it, but they're also using Mortgage Coach as a marketing tool. You can see there that he's added 244 videos. So, dude, you are a modern mortgage professional. You're trained. You know how to give advice. You know how to leverage technology. You know how to personally connect. If Amazon mortgage comes to play, who cares? You're going to be able to deliver a better experience because you're local. You leverage technology, so you're really good to go, dude. I'm really impressed. Yeah. So go ahead and stop sharing your
I
screen real
appreciate
quick.
that.
Yeah. No, you know it. You've worked, you've trained, and we're going to go there in just a minute. So guys, when we did the Modern Mortgage Summit, one of our speakers was Amber Kovarik, and we're, Todd Bookspan and Win by Noon, where, you can now get a pass to the Modern Mortgage Summit. It will last you 365 days. Check that out. Aaron, by any chance, did you check out the Modern Mortgage Summit?
I did. Yeah, I did. And it was awesome. I didn't get to see everybody, but I'm kind of going back on and watching. So
what was your favorite, or what do you kind of remember from it?
Man,
and don't say Jeremy Forcier.
Not saying Jeremy. I loved Josh Meadows, kind of mastering your time and your day. Loved that. And Dan Keller's, his was just really heartfelt, I think, and it kind of hit a little bit deeper. And so those two are awesome. I'm still, like I said, kind of going through and watching some more of them that I missed, but those two for sure stand out, and the ones that I've watched up to this point.
By the way, Dan, he did, man. His keynote was, I just had goosebumps. I mean, it was so well done,
yeah, it was
so well
unbelievable.
produced. It was unbelievable. I'm going to actually watch it again. It was so inspirational and tactically valuable. So I'm pulling up Amber Kovarik. When I did this interview of her, she was in the Modern Mortgage Summit. She's also the YouTube channel. I think she did 45 loans this month, and she talked about how I'm doing purchases and realtors during the day, and I'm doing refis at night. And this is her standard refi, where, hey, here's your current loan, here's your refi. In this case, it could save $522 a month. And what if you applied that to the principal? How much faster could you pay it off? So guys, this is the standard move to go beyond transaction. Here's your rate, here's your payment, here's your cash to close. Every loan officer does that. She shows how to pay off your home faster. So just want to make sure everybody saw that in the context of this training. Another move, did you see this move that Amber also taught, how she's turning refis into move-ups? Did you see this?
I did, actually. Yeah. And it's a brilliant strategy, really.
Yeah. So another one, guys, that is just a super important move. If the family wants to consider a move up, she's saying, hey, here's your refi. You can save $322 a month. This particular family qualified for 5% down. So she's like, you could buy a bigger home with an extra bedroom in a better school district, and 5% down, your payment would go up by $507. You could buy it non-contingent and then sell your other home. They had $125,000 in equity. And then you could recast your loan and actually get your bigger home, nicer home, and have your payment go down by $164. She said, or, and this is what the family ended up doing, is say, hey, we're gonna do the move up. We're fine with the extra payment. We're gonna put the 125 in the bank, and at 6%, guys, boom. This is what a mortgage coach, this is what a modern mortgage advisor can do. Could go from, hey, family wants to refi. They ended up improving their liquidity, improving their net worth, getting their dream home. And then here's the big one, guys. She was able to go to one of her agents and say, hey, how would you like a move up listing? And how would you like a move up buyer? And home run. So I just wanted to remind you of those strategies. That is in the Modern Mortgage Summit 365-day pass. That is also in our Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. Check it out. So let's talk about training, because as I said it, I people think Quicken is so big and so successful because they spend so much money on technology and marketing. And that is part of the Quicken success formula. But a really big part of it is their training, how much they train. Keller Williams, big part of their success formula is how much they invest in training. And you've obviously invested a lot in training. So I don't want to just ask you, what did you do? I want to, like, knowing what you know today, for loan officers that are in their first year in their business, what should they do? What should their training regimens be, in your opinion?
Man, that's a loaded question. There's so many things. First off, kind of in the spirit of talking about the, total cost analysis and mortgage coach, I think it's a must. I think if you're not doing a total cost analysis for every client, you are behind the ball, right off the bat. And so I think that's a must. And one thing for me, Dave, being younger in the business and when I started really not knowing what I was doing, the analysis helped me learn too. It helped me see different structures. It helped me kind of, feel that stuff out and see what was truly beneficial for people. And so spend a lot of time in that is one thing I would say. Get mortgage coach, buy in, and spend time learning different strategies, how they impact people, how they can benefit people. And second, tap into the community. I think in order to have success and be where we want to be, we have to surround ourselves with people that are doing that and are where we want to be. And so for me, that looked like Mortgage Coach YouTube. I wasn't really around many people. I didn't know many people. So it was tapping into the resources that were provided. And so I think if, it's important to be around people that are where you want to go. And I think those two things are pivotal. And then, on the other side, it's kind of the mastering the mundane. And that's something that I'm a work in progress on. But mastering the mundane, one thing that the core says a lot is, or they say master the mundane a lot, but don't overcomplicate it. You just have to put yourself out there and be confident in who you are and know that, there's somebody that needs your service out there. And so, master the mundane and make your calls and connect with people and then provide them value on the back end like this. And I think you have a long way to go, and a lot to improve on by doing all that. And I think it's going to help people master what they're doing, that much quicker. So.
Well, I love that you said that. I not just because I'm Mr. Mortgage Coach, I passionately believe the YouTube platform, the Facebook group, the advice platform, if you're a new loan officer, it is the most valuable place for you to learn because you'll have an advantage on everybody else. The industry, if they're delivering a fee worksheet, they're playing checkers, and the mortgage coach is chess. And it's not like you need to learn how to play checkers to learn to play chess. You do not need to do that. It actually doesn't help you. It's getting in the way and slowing down your success. Learn how to play chess. And then if you ever want to play checkers, go play checkers. And guys, when it comes to, if let's say you're struggling, let's say you've been doing this for 10 years, but you're not getting the results you want, invest your time in training. And part of that is consuming content. And our YouTube channel, I designed it to replace Netflix. And again, I'm not saying Netflix is bad. I watched The Queen's Gambit. It was awesome. I watched some other things that aren't quite as family friendly as that. I mean, that's different. That's not personal improvement. Although there are some pretty good documentaries in there now, but replace some of that time with what your craft is. You want to be a modern mortgage professional, Mortgage Coach YouTube channel and Facebook group, and then use our platform and you'll just be better than most of the loan officers in America. So let's wrap this up.
One thing I want to add to that, Dave, if I can.
Yeah, you can.
One thing I really didn't mention was video. And I know we talked a little bit about it within the analysis, but man, I cannot stress enough how impactful adding video into my processes has been. I love the perfect loan process. And so you and Tim had kind of remastered it, if you will, into the 2020 perfect loan process. I believe that's what you called it. And, Tim had talked a lot about video and the simplicity of turning your phone around after a conversation and shooting a quick video to somebody. Man, that has played a big role in what I'm doing and the growth that I'm having. I don't want to share all my secrets here, but, for the newer loan officer, hey, after you talk to a lead, shoot them a video. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Looking forward to serving you. These are the next steps. That I get videos back from people. I get pictures back from people. I love talking to you. This is awesome. I do videos with my offers. When we put offers in, we're in a super competitive market. So adding videos, listing agents love that. I get tons of calls from listing agents. I've actually had a listing agent, Dave, call me after seeing my pre-approval video for a client and an offer and give me a referral. First time I ever talked to him, and connected me with a buyer. And so that kind of stuff, I know for some people it's nerve wracking and you feel, iffy about it, but I want to encourage anybody that's listening here or anybody that watches this at some point to step into that video world and just kind of take that connection to the next level. And that's played a huge role in what I'm doing.
So guys, I'm going to put a link to that interview down below, but check it out. So by the way, when Tim and I did this, it was in 2018. So in 2018, we did an interview where we redid his perfect loan process. That dates back to the 90s. Tim built one of the most successful mortgage practices in the history of the mortgage business. He built Loan Toolbox, one of the most successful training platforms in the history of the mortgage business. And in 2018, we hey, what is the 2020 perfect loan process? And guys, not to brag, but we pretty much nailed it. We didn't see COVID coming.
No doubt.
We didn't see COVID coming, but Tim advocated, video every step of the process. We talked about text video, video, BombBomb's competitors. At the end of the day, you want to put video wherever it matters. And I'm just a big believer in, native video. So if it's, learn how to do a text video, learn how to do a Facebook video. If you're giving rates and fees, mortgage coach video. If you have a show that you want people to watch, YouTube video. So this is, I'm going to re-listen to this. I looked at it, man. Look how long my facial hair was.
Hey, that goatee is looking solid, man.
Yeah, dude. That's who is that guy, man?
Yeah.
I cleaned it. I've cleaned it up a little bit, I think. But
it looked like you're about to go do some fly fishing with that thing.
Yeah, no, well, hey, when I'm in Austin, which I'm going to be in Q1, let's do some fly fishing together. How old did you say your son was? You got a young
He's
boy?
7.5 months. Yeah. So we've got a busy house for sure.
Yeah. Congrats to you and your wife for starting your family.
Thank you.
And I know you're going to be one of America's top 1% professionals. There's zero question in my mind. You're just doing all the right things. So keep it up, dude. I can't wait to interview you again in 2021. And thank you for your time.
I want to add one more thing before you let us go.
Let's go.
I told Aaron Page whenever we started with our new group, I said, hey man, we were talking career goals and stuff like that. And I said, one of my number one goals is to be on a Dave Savage interview. And so check that one off. And kind of next, I'm working on my business planning and goal setting right now. So, one of my next ones is going to be a regular on this and share the likes of all those guys that I've already mentioned. So, man, it's been a pleasure, seriously. And what you've created and what this community has meant to me, I can't stress enough. And I'm not just saying this because I'm on this call with you. I really am a huge believer in what you're doing. I'm a huge believer in the way you connect people in the system that you've created. And I think it means a ton for a lot of loan officers, but it also means a ton for a lot of families. And so I appreciate it, man. I just wanted to kind of tell you that. So
thank you, brother. That really means a lot to me. And if you are someone that has gotten value from this community, you've gotten value from Mortgage Coach, and it's a goal to be interviewed and be part of this channel, reach out, let me know. I want to know. I don't know that this interview would have happened when I talked to Aaron Page and I interviewed him, because again, he had just crossed black belt. He did 200 loans this year. He's a legit interview, but he brought you up, and you know what? He wouldn't have brought you up to me if he didn't know that was a goal of yours. So guys, if you have a goal, you need to tell people. You need to throw that out into the world. And if the goal is to be part of this channel, you gotta be worthy of it in terms of how much you've used the product, how successful you are. But everybody's worthy of it. You just got to get out there and do it. So, dude, take care. And I look forward to our next
Dave,
conversation.
yeah, appreciate it. Likewise, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.